Welcome to Lime Rock. I'm Nick, founder and coach at Corner Faster. We host test days for current racers and an SCCA accredited school for the next ones. This video is part of a 10-part series where we take a look at Lime Rock Park in the iRacing simulator and go from a virtual track walk up to race ready. This is the third video in the series, and now we're going to take a look at how to carry as much speed as possible, getting everything out of the tire through each corner at Lime Rock. In this video, we're going to jump right into the sim. Check out video 1 and 2, which cover the safety features as well as the line. And if you're asking how we're going to use a sim to figure out the limit of grip in each corner, the answer is we're going to use an approach to getting up to speed progressively and safely. And along the way, we're going to get clued into what the car is telling us through the audio feedback, what we can hear off the tires and the engine noises and such, and through force feedback. So let's get started. The first part is we're going to get a baseline for driving under the limit of grip. So we're going to head out at about 100 kph, just about 60 miles an hour. And it's pretty close to the limit of grip in Big Bend, the left-hander, the right, and maybe a little in the right-hander. So just to give you a starting point that's not too slow. But anyway, you should be able to drive the line that we reviewed in the last video very easily through each corner. And then what we're going to do each lap is we're going to add a little bit more speed. And we're just trying to figure out relatively how much speed, plus or minus, can you carry through each of these corners. Which one's the fastest? Which one you really have to give it all up for. And we're going to just take a few laps and figure this out rather quickly. So let's fast forward now. It's pretty easy to get through the downhill at that speed. And as we carry just a little bit more speed, 110 kph now in West Bend, it's a little tough to get to the second apex. And then similarly in the left-hander, we push out at that speed off of the apex. So while we haven't found the limit of grip pretty much anywhere else on the track yet, as far as the max amount of speed, the second bend apex, as well as the left-hander, pretty similar speed, and they're very slow. Even with slicks on in the MX-5 Cup car, just about 60 miles an hour. So obviously we're not going to get to the limit here in West Bend at this speed or downhill. So let's fast forward and carry a little bit more speed. Now we're at 120 kph. We're getting close to the limit all the way through Big Bend. And in the left-hander, again, we've got to bring it down to about 60 miles an hour in order to make this one just over 100 kph. And now we're pretty close to the limit all the way from turn 1 through turn 4, Big Bend, left-hander, and right-hander. And under the limit in uphill, West Bend, and downhill. So there's a slow half of the track and a fast half of the track, if you will. And now what we're going to try to do is keep it chill in turns 1 through 4 and keep building up a little bit more speed so we can figure out the relative speeds in the uphill, West Bend, and downhill. So let's fast forward to the next lap. Carry just a little bit more speed. Now over 130 kph. We could just start to hear, and even some rev changes at the crest. We're getting very close to the limit. In West Bend, that sounds like a pretty on the limit car at the apex, but we're not at the limit of the downhill. All right, let's add a little bit more speed next lap and see what happens in the uphill and West Bend. just over 140. And you can start to hear and feel the car sliding and just even a little bit of wiggle at the top of the hill. Got to slow down. Yeah, that looks like it's pretty much the limit in West Bend. And we're not quite there yet in downhill. So we've reached limited grip in West Bend. We're very close in uphill at that speed. And the downhill corner seems to be the fastest corner on the track by quite a bit. So let's carry a little bit more speed. So now we're going 150 into the uphill. And then you can hear the car literally get in the air over the crest. And there's no way we're making that corner at 150 kph. Let's see if the downhill we're at the limit yet. Not even, but we're getting close to it, which goes to show you the downhill isn't just faster than the uphill in West Bend, it's a lot faster than all the corners on the track. So let's take another lap. See if we can get to the full limit here. The downhill. 100 miles an hour. 100 miles an hour is very close to as much speed as you can carry through. Again, this is a simulator with slicks on an MX-5 Cup car. Let's try a little bit more. 106. Yeah, I mean now we're nearly flat out, but we are pretty much at the limit of grip there, so there you have it. In just a few laps, we've gotten up to speed and found the relative limit of grip and the speed that can be carried. Again, pretty slow through the second apex of Big Bend. Similar speed through the left-hander to keep it tight. And then things start to speed up in the right-hander a little bit faster. Carry quite a bit of speed through the uphill. Being mindful of the crest where you literally get in the air. West Bend's a little bit slower, but still very quick overall. And the downhill's the fastest corner on the track. It'll take a while to build up speed. Notice we picked the downhill as the last corner to get all the way up to speed and a little faster each lap. And at this point, several laps into the session, starting to feel a little bit more comfortable carrying the right amount of speed in and out of each corner. You can start to hear the tire essentially sliding just a little bit, but certainly making noise throughout the entire corner, which is what we're starting to look for now. You know, maybe we'll try pushing just a little bit more, a little bit that, you know, less here or there to see how the car reacts, but at this point we're not trying to carry, you know, any more additional speed and, you know, chuck it into the corner and see what happens. We've already figured out, roughly speaking, the max speed that can be carried, so now we're going to just back it off and bring it back into the pits. Now that we've got a rough sense for the speed that can be carried in each corner, I'm going to try to do a couple laps that are as quiet as possible, just under the limit of grip in each corner. Really have to be patient, bring the car back, but you can start to feel the consistent force feedback in the steering. You get a good baseline for what the car feels like going quickly but not sliding through each corner. Start to piece it all together, get the whole rhythm of the track. And then once we've done that for a few laps, we can start to pick up the pace a bit. Now see what the car feels like. A little bit faster than that, so try to carry a few extra miles an hour and just make it work. You can hear the car the whole way. Get a bit of oversteer. Just sliding off the apex there, and you can also hear quite a bit of tire feedback. What we're figuring out here is, what does the car sound like? You know, how does it behave? You know, when it's slightly above the limit and flat out into the downhill. And sometimes you might actually find a faster approach to a corner. But it's very important to do all the steps first leading up to this. But at this point, now we've gone too fast. Before that, we got a good sense for the baseline. Now just try to get a consistent sound through each corner. This is the final step in our approach. The Goldilocks, if you will. You want to be able to hear the tires, but they shouldn't be at an all-out squeal. And you should be able to get some force feedback in the wheel, but again, it shouldn't feel like the car's completely loose. And again, this isn't going to translate 100% to real life, you know, G-forces and all that you can feel, but it's going to give you an approximate and an approach as well for how to dial in the speed in each corner and start to feel the grip. So thanks for tuning into this session. Definitely stick around for the next couple sessions while we take a look at braking and our throttle inputs. Check out cornerfaster.com as well, and we'll see you at Lime Rock.